Do you ever find yourself willfully choosing to ignore or act out of alignment with a clear direction from your soul? Perhaps most of your life is pretty good, and you just don't want to deal with looking at that one thing that would mean making a change. Maybe the lackluster relationship, or the less than healthy friendship, the going nowhere job, or the poor communication between you and a teenager. Sometimes when it feels like it's going to involve work, it seems much easier to ignore our guidance than to listen and act in alignment with the will of our soul. There's no right or wrong way to go about this, yet it's important to understand that it only seems easier. It's not, in fact, easier because ignoring your guidance actually creates more curriculum for yourself in the long run. There's a physical principle that states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what this means is that there's a balance of energies in every given moment. With regard to your own free will, the degree to which you willingly and knowingly act against your own will, act out willfully from a place of your ego, you will create consequences that are equal to your own current level of awareness. So this is very much like our legal system. People are tried and sentenced based upon their level of willing participation in the incident. So there's levels of penalties depending on how conscious a person is. The consequences are going to be equal to the level of their involvement. So for instance, a U.S. court of law, there might be several different degrees of murder. Person could expect to get a very tough sentence if they willfully, knowingly commit murder. This is called first-degree murder. A person who commits murder in self-defense or in the spur of the moment may get a charge of second-degree or third-degree murder because they weren't intending to kill anyone. If someone kills someone in an accident, for instance, this might be called involuntary manslaughter, and it would involve a lesser sentence than willfully killing someone. And then if you have a drunk driver, the drunk driver is going to get a higher sentence than the non-drunk driver because a person who is using alcohol can expect to have a different consequence than someone who is sober, because the inebriated driver was knowingly putting other people's lives at risk while under the influence of a substance that impairs reflexes. So our spiritual lessons and consequences work in a similar way. Some people call this karma, that our every action has a natural consequence, and the consequence is always equal to our level of awareness of each action we take. I know that this is where this saying, ignorance is bliss, comes in. Have you ever known anyone who's acting out unconsciously with total disregard for others, the environment, or their own soul's presence? They seem to suffer no consequences from their actions. And if there are some consequences, they seem very small and easily forgotten. This is because until a person has woken up, they will only be able to handle a very small, low level of awareness. Rest assured that this doesn't mean that they won't have to face out their own consequences and learn from their actions. When a person has been acting out unconsciously, their lessons are actually piling up behind them, out of sight, waiting for the moment when they become awake enough to handle the heavy load of curriculum they've created for themselves. We all have to face the consequences of our own actions at some point, whether it's in the moment or sometime later down the road. This would be the teaching of you reap what you sow. For those of us who are awake and aware, the tree will bear fruit almost instantly. For others who are still sleeping and unaware of the consequences of their behavior, it may take many years, possibly even many lifetimes, for the fruits of their lessons to appear. Since you are awake, I encourage you to move into the highest level of personal integrity that you can at this time, and it will immediately begin to alleviate your suffering. The more awareness you attain, the higher the level of integrity and alignment you must demonstrate with every step you take and every choice you make. If you are willfully ignoring your own soul's urgings and refusing to follow your inner guidance, you will create consequences of an equal intensity in the form of pain, suffering, or obstacles that may prove a challenge to overcome. Are you experiencing any major pain or suffering in your life? If so, this could be a pretty good indication that you have in some way been choosing not to follow the will of your soul. I encourage you to take a deep and fearless look at your own life. Are you listening to your soul's urgings, or are you resisting any upward progress? Be honest with yourself. If you've been ignoring your own soul's urgings in any way up until now, chances are good that you aren't feeling totally satisfied with your life. The good news is that it's never too late to begin to listen and to follow your own soul's guidance. To prevent from creating any new lessons for yourself, let go of seeking the easy way out. Start to tune in and follow the will of your soul. Say, I am now acting with the highest integrity possible. Action step. Let go of taking what appears to be the easier route and begin to see that acting in alignment with the will of your soul saves you from suffering in the long term. Declaration. I now know that the consequences of my actions equal my own conscious awareness. I am now acting with the highest level of integrity, doing my best to follow my soul's guidance in my own highest good. Many blessings of joy and vibrant freedom.